They say Miata is always the answer. This is my 2024 Mazda Miata ND3 Soul Red Crystal with the BBR package, soft top, that's the Brembo BBS Recaros. And today I'm going to tell you 7 reasons why Miata is not the answer, why you should not get a Mazda Miata. The first reason, perhaps unsurprisingly, is that this would be your one and only car. Now I say that kind of in jest because I do know quite a few people who do use this as their single daily driver. By the way, check this out. iPhone, magnetic mount, boom. Charges wirelessly. Got my CarPlay, wireless as well, super clean. And if you guys want this is the Course Motorsport mount. Then you can find it linked in the description with a special discount. So there are certain people who can use this as their only vehicle, and I know some of them. They tend to fall into a few distinct camps. So, first of all, they have a partner or a girlfriend, significant other, who has a more practical car so that when they do need to do more practical things, go to Costco, move, etc., they have a small CUV or a, sedan, whatever else. Number 2 is that you don't have any hobbies or interests or needs that require you to transport more than one other adult human at a time or larger things. So 2 hobbies that I have that would normally preclude me from having a Miata as my only vehicle would be number 1, cycling, and number 2, golf. And sure, you can mount your bike, suction cups, and yada, yada, yada. It's just a huge hassle. Golf bags aren't gonna fit in the back either. If you're the kind of person that lives lightly, you don't have a ton of possessions, and not a lot of shit to carry around and use moment to moment, then you're more likely to be able to use a Miata as your only vehicle. On average, those people tend to be younger. Not always, but on average. On average, when you get older, that is when you can use a Miata generally as your second or third vehicle. This is my third vehicle. I have a CX-50, which is my daily. I can do golfing and cycling, fit things in the back, no issue with the seats folded down. And I have my Amira as well. This is my third car because I'm now #oldman. Number 2 is that you're not a defensive driver. The Miata is a very small vehicle by modern standards. It weighs only about 2,300 pounds. And even with a bright color like this that most people are not gonna miss, you have to remember how bad the average driver is, and then remember that half the people are even worse than that. So I've had many close instances, a black Escalade that is turning into me as I'm in a lane because they didn't see me coming from the back somehow, which I was, again, a lot of people are just not aware. I've had instances where people can see me, and it's clear they can see me, but they still want to bully me around because I'm in a smaller car, and they know that if we did get into a collision, I'd be in a bad position, so they know that I'm gonna yield first. Stuff like that. It's not fun, it's not ideal, but it's also not a huge deal. Just be mindful that a lot of people, I actually had one guy the other day who was right next to me. That's not a blind spot. Blind spot is not looking right next to you at 9 o'clock, but this person almost ran into me, and I had to get on the horn and, do some evasive maneuvers so that we didn't get into a collision because people just aren't looking. And I actually don't really understand it, honestly, because if you set your mirrors correctly, then you're gonna see the whole car, regardless of whether it's tall or short, you're gonna see the whole car in your side views and in your rear view. But again, people will continue to amaze us on that front. Related to that is that most people don't set their mirrors up properly, which I talk about in this video over here. You can see that I cannot see the side of my car there. There's no need for you to see the side of your car. You wanna have a continuous view from the back to the side, such that it's like a single screen almost that's just cut here and here. Otherwise it would be continuous. So a car will show up on my side view, and then as it disappears from my side view, it'll appear in my rear view. And as it disappears out of my rear view on that side, it'll appear again on my other side view. That eliminates and reduces the blind spots in the maximal way, but most people don't drive like that, unfortunately. Number 3 is that you're a spec sheet warrior. By almost every metric, the Miata is kind of a turd on a spec sheet. It has a 2-liter naturally aspirated inline 4-cylinder, making 181 horsepower, 151 pound-feet of torque. Now, granted, it is a very light car, 2,300 pounds. But even still, 0 to 60 happens close to 6 seconds, which by modern standards is not very quick. I have no idea what its Nürburgring lap time is, nor do I really care. I know it's going to be very slow by modern standards because that's obviously not what the car is about. For those that are spec sheet warriors that don't value a naturally aspirated linear engine or the benefits of a super lightweight chassis and the handling and dynamic benefits that come with that, and also having the double wishbone front multi-link rear suspension, then I would say, hey, go get a muscle car or something else that is going to weigh more than 50% more than this. It's a Miata and a half and then some. It's not going to have the benefits of that lighter weight. The chassis dynamics will suffer, but you'll accelerate faster, you'll have a louder engine, you'll be more impressed by the thing that you care about more. Number 4 is that you need lots of space, and that one's pretty self-explanatory. The trunk on this thing is absolutely tiny. I am 6'1", 175 pounds, and it is not easy for me on longer drives because I can't even stretch out my leg fully. I have the seat all the way back, but my knee is always bent. So on longer rides, I sometimes need to just stop, get out of the car. It's not a huge deal on shorter rides. You know, you're driving an hour or two, not a big deal. But yeah, you drive this on a road trip, not the most fun car. If you're a larger person, if you're significantly taller than 6'1", or you might even be shorter, but you're just a lot heavier set, then the small cabin, it's very cozy, it's going to cause issues. You're not going to be comfortable. Even for myself, I won't be able to drive this on the track because I'm too tall. With my helmet, I'd stick past the roll bar unless I get a seat lowering bracket, which can actually lower it by about an inch and a half. Number 5 is lap time bragging rights. And again, going back to the Nürburgring, this car is going to be slow by modern standards. And you may say, hey, the Civic Type R, Elantra N, these cars are way faster. Why don't you get one of those? And they're a similar price point, right? This Miata with the BBR package was right around $38K. And that's valid, right? If you care about lap times above other things, then I completely understand that sentiment. However, you have to acknowledge that you are losing some of the inherent purity of a sports car, being front engine, rear wheel drive, double wishbone front, multi-link rear. There are certain types of vehicle dynamics, certain types of things that you can only elicit and experience in a front engine rear wheel drive car that has a great chassis setup that you're not going to get with some other vehicles. Now, the Civic Type R and the Elantra N are fantastic vehicles, but because they are FF, by definition, you cannot get power oversteer. You can get oversteer, you know, trail braking and such, but not power-induced oversteer. And that is a skill that I think all well-rounded drivers need to have. And some of us, myself included, actually find that to be incredibly enjoyable. One of the most fun parts about driving is power-induced oversteer. Number 6 is you want luxury. As you can tell on the highway, this is a loud car. Now, if you were to get the GT trim, the Grand Touring spec, which is the highest trim Miata, although you cannot get the Brembo BBS Recaro package, and it does have like climate control, auto headlights, small little creature comforts, right? It also has a thicker headliner. So the soft top is better insulated and you won't get nearly as much noise when you're driving on the highway or it's a windy day like today. The ride comfort is actually not bad. I mean, my mom has ridden passenger and she's like, Kevin, this car is so comfortable. Because they have the Miata relatively softly sprung. It's not a harsh, abusive kind of sports car by any means, but it's also not a luxurious Mercedes or BMW or Lexus. You're not gonna ride in pure comfort and in relative silence. And number 7 is that even though it's not luxurious, it's also not completely raw either. And what I mean by that is it's no Honda S2000. The S2000 has this incredible powertrain and you feel so connected to the car. It feels special every time you're behind the wheel. The Miata is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but you have this modernness to it, such that there's less NVH. It's not quite as raw and visceral. The engine actually is quite quiet in stock configuration before you start modifying it. It's a very smooth engine too. It doesn't have that character change and aggressive intake and aggressive induction note that the S2000 has with VTEC kicks. So it's a good middle ground though. It is comfortable enough for daily driving. You have your CarPlay with this nice big screen in the ND3. You have your heated seats. You have a lot of these modern touches, your blind spot monitoring, your rear cross traffic alert, rear reverse camera. but it's definitely no S2000 if you want that, hey, I want to hop into my weekend car and just get beat up a little bit. Because I think what oftentimes makes for a good driving experience, a good sports car, a memorable car, is actually the opposite of what makes for a good daily driver or comfortable car that you want to use on a daily basis. This is actually towing the line in a way that is impressive, but it's not, it's ultimately compromised. It's not trying to approach either extreme. And there you have it, 7 reasons you should not buy a Mazda Miata. Now, for those who don't know, this is obviously in jest. These are all 7 reasons that you shouldn't buy a Mazda Miata, but obviously, if you're the right person for this car, these are 7 reasons why you would want the car. It is an incredible vehicle, and to be getting something like this in 2024, 2025 is truly spectacular. Since you like this video, go watch 6 reasons why you should not get a Toyota GR86.